Europeans first sighted Barrenjoey in March 1788 when Governor Phillip led an exploratory party to Broken Bay. The second exploration in 1789 followed the bay west, discovering the Hawkesbury River in the process. By 1791, it was firmly established that the Nepean River in Sydney's west and the Hawkesbury were in fact the one river. By 1794, it had become obvious that taking Hawkesbury produce to the Sydney markets was easier and quicker via Broken Bay and down the coast, rather than going overland through the scrub and bush. By the 1840s, Broken Bay had developed into a busy waterway, with vessels travelling up and down the length of the Hawkesbury, often taking shelter from bad weather in Pittwater. In 1842, a big smuggling event took place at Broken Bay, with the schooner Fair Barbadian, 137 tonnes, owner Robert Dunlop, setting sail from Port Jackson bound for Lombok with a cargo of spirits, only to land it illegally at secluded Cowan Creek. The case of the Queen versus Dunlop saw the Queen awarded damages to the tune of £5,000. A similar action against the exporter of the brandy, John Ross, cost the smugglers a further £6,000. The Fair Barbadian incident was something of a last straw for the authorities, and so it was that in June 1842 a decision was made to establish a small customs station at Barrenjoey alongside the beach within the lee of the headland. The first man-made structure placed on Barrenjoey headland itself was probably a flagstaff. It was carried up there single-handedly by John B. Howard, the first customs waiter, and erected with the aid of several convicts assigned to Howard. These men also formed a track to the top, thought by some to be what is these days called the Smuggler's Track. However, it's more likely that the track they formed was the one requested in an 1842 letter to John Howard from Colonel Gibbs of the Customs Service in Sydney, requesting that Howard form a winding path up the south face of the mountain by clearing the bushes and making steps where required, to a flat space on the top near the western end, where a sentry box or watch hut is to be built and a flagstaff erected. The customs station was completed by June 1843, and soon after a hut was built on top of the headland from which all vessels entering and leaving Broken Bay could be seen. According to the redoubtable P.W. Gledhill, the first mention of a light being displayed from this majestic headland was from a report dated 17th of November 1855, which mentions a weatherboard building at Barrenjoey where a light for shipping is displayed in rough weather. Other sources state that sometimes a fire was lit in a wire basket during rough weather. Voracious white ant activity necessitated a total rebuild of the Customs House in 1862. George Pinkerville's Slade's watercolour of the rebuilt Customs House, published in 1869, looks northwest between the headlands that define the entrance to Pittwater, to the far shore of Broken Bay. The western end of Barrenjoey dominates the painting, with West Head completing the frame at the extreme left. An examination of much of Slade's work shows it to be entirely representational. To be sure, Slade was a capable artist, but more importantly, he was in effect a mid-19th century camera. Where artistic licence might have been taken, it would have been limited to the shadows, colour and tone, things that varied with the light as the day progressed. Licence would not have been taken with the built structures or major land features. Based on this assessment, we believe the flagstaff to be correctly positioned in the painting and the stone landing at the end of the wharf, absent in the painting but shown in later photographs, yet to be built. The path Howard built was probably later extended to become that shown on architect James Barnett's contour survey of 1877. It appears as a dotted line beginning in the middle of the saddle on the small flat below the western end. It's also possible that this path became the basis of the trolley track that carried building supplies from the wharf up to the construction site of the present lighthouse. The question of a lighthouse had been on the parliamentary agenda for some years. In 1863, the member for Sydney, Robert Stewart, moved that a harbour light be placed at the entrance to Broken Bay, it being the only refuge between Sydney and Newcastle. No decision was taken, but a committee of the Legislative Council was appointed to look into the need for more lighthouses along the coast. Though more than 500 vessels were now anchoring in Broken Bay each year, often to take refuge from bad weather, the matter remained in the background until Robert Stewart again raised it in the Parliament in 1867. This time, the Legislative Assembly passed the motion and Lieutenant John Garland of the Royal Navy was instructed to survey Broken Bay. Gowland decided that Elliot Island, now Lion Island, was the best site for the new light, but for reasons of economy, the committee opted instead for Barrenjoey. The controversy remained alive until June 1868, when a firm decision was finally made to install 2 temporary light towers on the Barrenjoey headland. A more substantial lighthouse would follow in due course. The use of 2 lights would distinguish Barrenjoey from the South Head light at Port Jackson, so as to avoid confusion to vessels arriving from the east. The lights would be placed so they could not be seen from ships coming up the coast from the south until they were well clear of the outer South Head. Though Barrenjoey headland is the south head of Broken Bay, Bangali headland projects substantially further into the Tasman Sea and was therefore referred to as the outer South Head in some texts and on some charts. For this reason, the lights would be eclipsed, that is to say they would be blacked out in the sector described by these red lines. James Barnett had been appointed colonial architect in 1865. He was responsible for the building of defence works at Port Jackson, Botany Bay and Newcastle, as well as courthouses, lockups, police stations and post offices throughout New South Wales, and several lighthouses, including the Macquarie Light on South Head, which replaced an earlier one designed by Francis Greenway. In June 1868, a group consisting of Barnett, harbour and engineering officials, the Governor, Parliamentarian Robert Stewart and several others, set sail for Broken Bay on the government steamer Thetis. They climbed the headland and, after selecting locations for lights, placed flags there and returned to the steamer to satisfy themselves that the flags were appropriately positioned. The report in the Sydney Morning Herald of the 21st of July 1868 is the most explicit description that exists of the 2 towers. The towers are temporary structures, the inner one being 20 feet above the rock and the outer one 10 feet. Each tower is constructed of 4 hardwood posts firmly fixed on the rock, which has been excavated to receive them, and they are protected from the weather by sheets of corrugated iron. The lanterns are fixed upon the wooden structure, and about 4 feet below the lights, running around each tower, is a platform from which the trimmer can light and clean the lamps. A sleeping berth for the lightkeeper has been fitted up in the larger tower, which is placed at a distance of 1,180 feet in a west-northwest direction from the outer tower. Each tower is fixed with 3 lanterns lighted with kerosene to form a fixed bright light and will be visible at a distance of about 12 miles to seaward.
The location of both Stewart Towers can be seen in this panorama. The saddle to the right is where John B. Howard erected the first flagstaff in 1843, as shown in George Penkerville Slade's watercolour. On the high bluff that we are gliding past, to the right of the lighthouse, is the Trig station and the site of the inner Stewart Tower. On the ridge at the far left sat the outer and smaller Stewart Tower. Back in this direction, this way, and about 500 feet, you have to divide that, get your metres sorted out, is the westernmost site of the Stewart Tower, which apparently, according to Jervis, is the spot where the Trig station is these days. So hopefully we can locate that, because he also states that that when they were constructing the Stewart Towers, the four main posts were actually set into the sandstone. But we found two glaring errors on this plaque on the cairn. Firstly, we know there were two lighthouses, the inner and the outer Stewart Towers, and secondly, no stone was used in their construction. So this plaque is simply incorrect. So hopefully we can find the Trig station and the remains of the four locating points for the wooden posts that were the framework for the Stewart Tower, or what they called the innermost Stewart Tower. Someone's been here before. There we go. They're already. Where's the Trig station? Here are your fastening points, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
They didn't say square, they just said the height 20 feet. So you got a 1900 centre to centre.
More sweet.
Yeah, sure. Well, according to me, there's the 1900 coming to there, which is if the tower was square, and you'd assume it was square, then that's where she should be, somewhere around very, very close to that point there. Wouldn't be a lightning conductor down the centre of the tower, would there? Okay, so you've got the northeast and the northwest poles there, so it's got to be somewhere out here. They're 1900. Oh, hang on, here we go. There you go. There's number 3, the 10mm hole. Yeah. So there.
Oh, look.
There she is. What is it? What does it represent? That's the crazy bit.
It's a hook.
Yeah.
It's an iris to hold a cable, obviously, eh? We originally thought that these 3 rusty bent-over brackets must have been supports for the inner Stewart Tower, and the sawn-off brass rod, perhaps its lightning rod. In fact, all these items are associated with the Barrenjoey Trig station, first established in 1882. Our lightning rod is actually a Muntz plug marking the trig point. The Muntz plug was embedded in the rock at ground level, and a mast with vanes was mounted directly above, supported by a pile of stones. This photo of Percy Gledhill standing on top of the cairn was taken in 1920. When a surveyor needed to refer to the trig point, he had to unpile the cairn in order to take the required readings and measurements. Then he had to rebuild it. If you look at this rock carefully, you'll see that it's unmoved 21 years later, when the second photo was taken in 1941. In 1975, the trig was unpiled for the last time. A new PVC mast was erected. The rocks that comprise the cairn are now scattered all around the site. A new mast and vanes were erected in late 1980, and this must be when the brackets were installed. They almost certainly supported a tripod, similar to this 1970 photo of a trig station at Beacon Hill. The concrete base with steel posts was built in 1985.
There's the cave underneath here, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
Check it out. Come in this way. Be careful. Look at the beautiful ribs, the weathering ribs on it. Yeah, just there.
We're making our way up the trail and we're cut off by this wire here.
Well, I'm just going to check the overall dimension, because I don't think we had an actual dimension of the timber post. They just said 4 posts checked into the sandstone, which is exactly what we've got there.
This is the Barrenjoey Headland Conservation Management Plan, prepared by the Office of Environment and Heritage in 2012. It's 161 pages long. We became a bit concerned about some of the claims made in it, feeling that error was being piled upon error and written into the historical record as fact. For example, the report claims to know the location of the 4 corner post holes of the eastern Stewart Tower, but that's a misreading of the 2004 consultants report, which identified 3 holes but not 4. We had to turn around and locate that 4th hole. It's worth mentioning that the sites of the 2 Stewart Towers are said to be of state heritage significance on several grounds. So we think this has got to be the...
Yep, one of the 4.
One of the 4.
Yeah.
A bit lucky it hasn't been covered by the...
By the cairn. I guess that's why they located
got
the cairn.
Looks like a right angle.
Yeah.
Over here.
There you go.
Oh, look at that. Straight as can be.
Stunning. Yep.
Yeah.
Take that measurement. North, south.
So we've got about there, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. Then we've got 11 feet, say, centre to centre of the timber post.
Right. Should we do the other 2?
Yeah, let's check the other 2. Sure. And that's 11'2".
Where is it?
This fella here.
In here?
Yep, and that's the square cut out to take
so
the
we've
timber
got
post.
The same measurement each way, so it looks like a square.
Square, just in the middle of that bit of, there's a couple of little...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, beautiful. 10 feet, 10 inches. But it doesn't compute with a statement made in a couple of reports that said that these posts were up on the Trig station. We haven't been able to find these holes up on the Trig station.
Right.
There's just the metal components, which we believe is World War II.
So this is the easternmost, not the Trig station.
Yeah, they called it the outer light. Yeah, which was only 10 feet compared to the 20 feet of the one up on the Trig station. So, and... You shooting? Okay. Yeah. Well, here we are at the Trig station on Barrenjoey headland. We've just come back from the what they call the outer light, the first Stewart Tower, and we're trying to chase down the second one, which the writing says 1150 feet west northwest. Jervis claims that there was the remains of the other Stewart Tower adjacent to the Trig station, but we're trying to find dimensions or any indication that there's in fact a 5 by 5 or 6 by 6 hole in the bedrock. There's a couple of holes over here, but this has been interfered with. There's been some extra concrete poured there. I'm not quite sure how to explain this piece here that looks like just the right dimension for a 4 by 4 timber support for the bigger Stewart Tower, the inner light. We can't locate the 4 holes like we were so easy to do up at in the outer light. That eye bolt over there, I can't explain what that's for.
Well, the first question, this is worked to a scale of 1 inch to a foot.
Yeah, okay.
If you're happy with the height, we'll keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Or if you want it to be half an inch to a foot, we can change the size.
I think a little bit more impact.
I gave a lot of thought to the roof side.
Yep, sure.
And I thought, no, what probably they would have done in that stage is put just a skillion roof on with that facing north. So
yeah, I'd agree, yeah.
So that would probably be protected from the southerly gales, even to the extent of maybe a bit of iron on the back of it. I assume that there'd be a floor in the base where they would store equipment, spare kerosene and so forth. Now, would a sleeping berth be down on that floor, or will we give him a mezzanine floor?
So here we are up on the side of the current Trig station on top of Barrenjoey headland. We're trying to track down any significant remains of the early Stewart Tower, the western or inner Stewart Tower. We knew we had to find bedrock because that's what the smaller tower to the east is built on, with the 4 very, very obvious post holes. This isn't quite so obvious. We have managed to locate this poured concrete square here. It looks like this could well be either that or another part underneath this concrete, the southeasternmost post of the inner tower. The dimension is very typical of what we found on the eastern tower, with this approximately 5 inches square, which we assume was designed to take the hardwood posts that are described, about 4 inch square, and then with some concrete poured around them. But what we have found, besides this hole here, is another post hole identical to the eastern tower over here. It feels like it's around about 6 inches or 150 mil deep, from what I can gather, which again is typical of the outermost tower. In that way, there we got 130. 130. Yeah, 130 both directions. That could well be it, mate. That prod went in there quite a distance then. This is looking good, mate. Yeah, we've got 4 verticals, 4 squares, and vertical sides.
You can grab the tape measure.
Spot on 130, exactly the same as the others. 130, yeah.
So Jeff,
Far out.
now we've got 3 holes, and the missing 4th hole lines up to be right under this,
Just under the
slab, and we think it's probably about here.
So we've just uncovered this incredible post hole from the western tower. But beside that, we've also we've come up with this eye bolt here, which could be commensurate with an early flag pole, flag staff, or whatever. Give you a rough idea of the dimensions there.
So that has to be a flag to hold a flagstaff, right?
Yeah, because as you said before, I mean, we got some pretty decent gales up here. The Dandenong gale of well over 200 kilometres an hour, and we've got another eye bolt over here with exactly the same dimensions. Exactly the same dimensions. It's sitting on this nice big lump of bedrock here. Again, same dimensions there. So we've got 2. There's got to be the third one. We guess it's to support.
So you'd expect it to be halfway along the line between these 2, and then go off vertically.
Which is around about here. So there must be something over in this direction here. There's nothing obvious up on this slab of bedrock. Nothing in the side here. Oh, there you go. Yes, there's number 3. So that gives us the tripodic structure of the guys to hold the flagpole, flag staff, and that's the 3 of them. That bit of rock's not going anywhere, and there's the three guys for the staff.
What I'm going to do now is just cut off a few extra planks for the flooring, but these will already be about size, around about 5 inches by 1 inch flooring. So hold on to your hat, here goes the saw. So there are some of the narrow planks that we can use just for the flooring and for the decking. Marking where the cross beams go, and then they will then go onto the bench, and by hand will be cut. So we form a housing. That housing then becomes the joining part. Now you can see how it's starting to come together against the model, against the plan.
by a lock spleen blown aside, but there's a hell of a stinking nor'wester or nor'wester blowing. We're on the site of the Trig station and just adjacent to the inner tower. What we're trying to locate is the other Flagstaff. We know that there were three. We have photographs of three in the three sites. The easternmost tower, there was a Flagstaff adjacent, one just adjacent to the lighthouse, and one out here. We have located the eye bolts to the southwest of the site, eye bolt to the northwest of the site, and the eye bolt directly behind the camera. We still haven't located an eye bolt to the northeast, because during that summer season we do get some pretty dark nor'easters here, and there would have to be some form of guy holding the pole once erected to that nor'east there. This looks like it is the site of the third Flagstaff. We've got the two pieces of timber here, roughly 8 by 2 and probably around about 1 metre high, which would have been pinned to the main Flagstaff, around about dressed 8 inches square. And of course they would have been pinned there so that the staff can drop down, laid down to be either a significant flag, or else flags to signal some sort of message, and then of course raised back up again. It couldn't have gone that way because he'd been down, they'd been hanging over the bedrock there, so that would be the natural way for that to fall.
Unit is basically finished. The only thing left to do will be, and I'll just turn that round so you can see what goes on, is the appearance of the galvanised iron which sheeted the place, as we understand from investigation, and that will be glued on in that position. The hatch up on the top here gives access up onto the service platform. Just an ordinary little door, and down the front, a front door, which is the way in. Good quality old legend brace door and leather hinges.
There's some corrugated iron down there, mate. Only small pieces. Well, we've had a not so good an afternoon, because we've done our work on the two towers, the two Stewart Towers, the smallest in the east and the bigger one to the west, and we're pretty happy with the info we've got from those two. Now we're trying to work on the Flagstaffs. We know there were three sites of Flagstaffs, but we haven't been able to site the one to the east of the lighthouse. We've got the other two pretty much pinpointed, but we're still chasing this fella. What I meant to show you was that 1877 plan by Barnett, which shows the original path up to the towers was actually coming up and going to the north of the western tower, inner tower, which was the main access route in those days, until 1881, when they started to get serious about creating the trolley track down here to the quarry and taking the stone back up to the lighthouse there. This normal street looks like this has been packed up, mate. There's a couple of edge stones over here too. That looks like edge stones here. Oh, hang on, it looks like they follow up further up the slope. They do too, mate. This.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, this is it, all right. Oh, well, that's incredible.
This would be the northernmost boundary of the track that she cuts in towards this amazing
So look at
up
this
here,
photo.
which is this fella here.
So that rock up there
That
with
rock.
the big split.
Yep.
That's
is
got
this.
that's got to be.
And there are multiple
this
pieces
rock
just
here.
like that. That's got to be the same rock, mate. Brilliant.
So the road has to be very close. The trolley track has to be very close to where we are now.
Off the saddle back there, which is where she turns around to head up the hill to pick up the trolley track. And this is the old trolley track, which was dispensed with once they established the road further down. There's that big fella. Right, that's that big fella
Okay.
there. So we're somewhere just around about here, mate. This big steep section we've
And
just
this
done
rock
here.
we're just looking at here is where?
This will be this fella here.
Okay.
Big fella there, spot on.
Wonderful. And here's the road,
Yep.
all carefully marked out.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I call it a road, but it was a trolley track, right?
Sure.
To carry to what?
All the materials other than the sandstone up to the top, because they wouldn't have accessed any stone down here. There was a stone up the top on the site of the lighthouse, and the keepers' cottages, and the quarry that we've already shot. She has levelled out a fair bit now.
It's incredible, isn't it? I've never seen it before. It's certainly difficult. That's impressive. Wow.
That is in that stone.
And of course here it is here.